Hi, this is Ela Jarvis, and this video is for my Still Life watercolor students. And I hope today to address the issue of what do you do when you've painted a picture of something, you put a lot of energy and attention into it, then you paint in the shadows, and then students inevitably did not think about the background. So here's just a little example here. It's totally fine if you just want to focus on your subject and you don't want to put a color in the background. If you just want to let it be white, if it's just a little study. But let's think about, how do you shift your thinking? Because there's no one right or wrong answer about how to do this. One thing that's really helpful is to, don't just put your subject in a white background. Instead, I would recommend that you plan it that way, right? Here's a piece of fabric, here's an orange, right? We've got a background already set up here. It's nice if you have a variety of color combinations. What would it look like if you had, I'm sorry, this is wrinkly, but how does it look? Playing with color, thinking ahead of time about how your subject will look, right? We have a fairly neutral background here. The orange is going to pop against this sort of yellow ochre color, right? Versus here it's brighter, it's more intense, but these are different versions of the same color versus a complement, right? It's really going to be bright against a blue background because these two colors are opposite on the color wheel. They're complements. So let's say, okay, blues are a really nice background because they tend to recede so long as they're not too bright. Neutrals tend to be really good background colors for the same reason. They contain a lot of blue. They tend to recede. You can use a bright color, but it's going to compete for attention with your subject. But if that's what you want, then it works. So, okay, let's say you've chosen a background and you've chosen a subject. Now you need to figure out what colors are you going to use. Right, so here I've got I know I want to get an orange, a bright orange, so I grabbed kind of an orangey red. It could be cadmium red, it could be a pyrrole red, it could be, there's a light red that Van Gogh makes. You want a bright yellow to make that red more orangey. It could be a yellow, an orangey yellow, or a really pure yellow like I have here. I think this is a lemon yellow. And then you need to be able to get that blue. And it's a really greenish blue, and I know that phthalo blue would be able to get that color. And then I mixed them all. Okay, what actually happens? How do these colors play together? We do these exercises in beginning watercolor. This is why I require beginning watercolor for my Still Life watercolor students. And you can also find videos where we do these exercises, where we make color wheels, where we mix all the neutrals together, all three together, and honestly, you should sit down and make 50 of these. Just make a whole bunch of colors for mixing all three. Mix a whole bunch, not just three, but this is kind of my short, sweet study if you want to just do a quick study. So once you've got a sense of what colors you can make, then you can do a cute little still life. And I toned down the background a little bit. That was my choice. I took a little bit of the orange that I mixed and I put it into the blue. It tamed down the blue a little bit and makes the colors feel like, okay, they belong in the same universe. They don't compete quite as much as if I had gone straight phthalo. But it would be interesting. There's no right or wrong answer. This is just one way to go about it. So, you make a plan. You don't just paint an orange on a white background and then go, what am I going to do? You think about it. maybe you have fabric. Maybe you could even, take a shirt that's a color that you like. When you go out into the world, when you're trying to figure out what colors you want to put in your picture, pay attention to things in the world and what color combinations you like together. If you've got a shirt that's blue and orange, maybe that would be the inspiration for this picture. Look at paintings by other artists. This is a little still life that I did long ago in a postcard. I decided to go very, very dark with a bunch of light objects on it. These are different varieties of eggplants that I did back in the 1990s, right? Maybe you want to have some background and also a piece of fabric. Maybe you want to include both. So I have all these vegetables sitting on a piece of blue-purple cloth, and there's a little bit of the brown table behind it. Right, this is getting really busy, but you can see I'm thinking about composition now. I'm turning it into a real picture. I'm not just having an object floating in space. So eventually you can build up to something like this if that is something you want to do. Another really fun thing to do is you can take photographs. Here's a photograph that I took. And I've got interesting shapes going on. I've got, there's lots of green in the background. There's not really even a background in the traditional sense because there's just so much action going on. But you can choose. You can look for exciting and interesting compositions to paint. So, we're definitely jumping into the deep end of the pool here. But, this is way more exciting than this. Right? This is a study. This is turning into a composition. This is not a watercolor. This is just a photo that I printed out. But this would be a fun painting to do, in my opinion. So see if you can break out of the one little object floating in space with a white background and instead think about color, right? And think about composition. And then you can make more exciting, more interesting paintings. I hope you found this helpful. Take care.